Good morning, beautiful people. I'm here today with your Thursday word, and we're going to be today's topic is the God who sees and the God who hears. I'm going to read a couple of scriptures in Genesis 16 and in Genesis 21. So let me get started. And this is a story about Hagar and Ishmael. Then Sarah said to Abram, "My wrong be upon you. I gave my maid into your embrace, and when she saw that she had conceived, I became despised in her eyes. The Lord judge between you and me." So Sarah said, so Abram said to Sarai, "Indeed, your maid is in your hands. Do to her as you please." And when Sarai dealt harshly with her, she fled from her presence. Now the angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, by the spring on the way to Shur. And he said to Hagar, Sarai's maid, "Where have you come from, and where are you going?" She said, "I'm fleeing from the presence of my mistress Sarai." The angel of the Lord said to her, "Return to your mistress and submit to yourself under her hand." Then the angel of the Lord said to her, "I will multiply your descendants exceedingly, so they shall not be counted for a multitude." And the angel of the Lord said to her, "Behold, you are with child, and you shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has heard your affliction. He shall be a wild man. His hand shall be against every man, and every man's hand against him. And he shall dwell in the presence of all his brethren." Then she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, "You are the God who sees." For she said, Have I also here seen him who sees me? Therefore the well where she called El Roi. So in this passage we see where Hagar had fled because Sarah was treating her harshly. And when she was in that wilderness place, God saw her. He saw her in her affliction. He saw what she was going through. She was pregnant with Abram's child, and she was trying to get away from her her owner, Sarai. So, in that place, because even though the way that Ishmael was conceived that is not what God told Abraham and Sarah to do. At that time, He did not tell them to do that. They did that on their own. God still seen the child that was born really in sin. He still saw what his mother was going through and was still going to take care of her. So how this encourages me, that even in our wrongdoing, even when we're doing things that we shouldn't do, even when children are conceived in sin or whatever, God sees us. We are God's children, so God sees us, and He comes for us. He takes care of us. He saw her in the wilderness. He sees us in those wilderness places and takes care of us in those wilderness places, because we serve a God who sees us and sees our affliction, and who's just not going to leave us where we at. He's not going to leave us in that wilderness place. And see, even though she went to the wilderness, he called her back out to go back to the maid. He called her back out to go back to serve Sarah. He called her back to that place. So he was just letting her know that even though I'm sending you back, I'm going to take care of you. So we may have to go back to some places and do things that we didn't feel that we wanted to do, or we're being treated wrong. But the thing about it is that God will sustain us. He's going to take care of us. She was in the wilderness. He sent her back. You need to go back there, because there's something that I need you to get out of this place, in those wilderness places. And when we're in the wilderness, and we're in places that we don't want to be, because we're treating wrong, God is building our character. Everything that we go through is God is shaping us into be more like His Son Jesus Christ. So He was sending her back. Yeah, Sarah might be treating you wrong, but you got to go back. Just know that I'm going to take care of you, and I'm going to take care of you and your seeds. So let me go on to chapter 21, and I'm going to start at the ninth verse. And Sarah saw the son of Hagar, the Egyptian, whom had born to Abraham, scoffing. Therefore she said to Abraham, "Cast out this bondwoman and her son, for the son of this bondwoman shall not be heir with my son, namely with Isaac." And the matter was very displeasing in Abraham's sight because of his son. But God said to Abraham, do not let it be displeasing in your sight because of the lad or because of your bondwoman. Whatever Sarah has said to you, listen to her voice, for in Isaac your seed shall be called. Yet I will also make a nation of the son of the bondwoman, because he is your seed. So Abraham rose early in the morning and took bread and skin and water, putting it on his shoulder, and gave it to the boy and Hagar, and sent them away. Then he departed and wandered in the wilderness. Then they departed and wandered in the wilderness of Beersheba, and the water in the skin was used up. And she placed the boy under one of the shrubs. Then she went and sat down across from him at a distance of about a bow shot. For she said to herself, let me not see the death of the boy. So she sat opposite and lifted her voice and wept. And God heard the voice of the lad. Then the angel of God called to Hagar out of heaven and said to her, what ails you, Hagar? Fear not, for God has heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, slip up the lad, and hold him with your hand, for I will make him a great nation. Then God opened her eyes, and she saw a well of water. And she went and filled the skin with water and gave the lad drink. So God was with the lad, and he grew and dwelt in the wilderness and became an archer. He dwelt in the wilderness of Paran, and his mother took a wife for him in the land of Egypt. So, um, Hagar, they were back in the wilderness, but it was not just now, just her carrying the baby. Now her actual son was kind of like 11 or something, I think, close to a teenager. That they were back in the wilderness, and so when they ran out of food, and they ran out of drink. She just pushed him to the side under a tree, and basically she was like she didn't want to see her child suffer, or she didn't want to see him dying, because she must have forgot that she served the God who sees in Genesis 16. So she was in a place of kind of like distraught, but God heard her son. God heard her son. So by him hearing her son, it said, and God heard the voice of her son. Then the angel called to Hagar. God heard the voice of Ishmael. So Ishmael must have been praying. Ishmael must have asked God to do something. So because God answered on the voice of Ishmael, he moved on the voice of Ishmael. So he's not only the God who sees, who saw her in the wilderness when she was pregnant with Ishmael, he's the God who hears. He heard Ishmael's cry, and so God moved on Ishmael's behalf, and so he did exactly what he said he was going to do in Genesis 16. He told her that he would take care of her son, and let me go back to that verse. And he basically told her again that he would take care of her son and make a nation out of him as well. So she Hagar was able to see that she served the God who sees her, and her son was able to see that he served the God who heard him. So all in all, this is basically what I want to get to, that even though her child was not born at that time, even though her faith was translated to that child, because for God to move on the child's behalf, he had to have faith that God will move. As being mothers, as being parents to our children, that I believe that we should have a faith that our children see us believing in God for something, the faith that we have, our children should want to utilize it too. It should roll down on us. I know when I was a child and I was raised by my parents, and even just my grandmothers and stuff, just seeing their faith and the faith that they had in God, that translated down to me because I saw them use it. So I saw them have faith in God for different things, for healing, for providing, or whatever you have it. I saw their faith move mountains. So that made me believe, have that childlike faith, and believe God to do the miraculous. So us being parents, and just not even parents, but us just being a light into this world, our people should want to, our faith should be translated to people. And when they should see that we believe God, okay, that we serve a God who sees us. They should want to, when they're going through, they should know that, okay, I serve a God who sees me, who hears me. um I don't know, how Ishmael was able to. I don't know. It doesn't explain exactly how he communicated with God, but in order for God to hear him, he had to be able to be communicating with God, because his mom at that stage, she was in distraught. So also, when we are in a place when our faith goes down, we need people around us who have that faith. So I believe Ishmael had that childlike faith at that time, and I don't believe that it just came out of nowhere. His mom had believed what God said when she was in the wilderness the first time, when she fled Sarah, when she gave the name of that place El Roi, the God who sees me. So we just need to know that we serve a God who sees us, who hears us, who um, are with us in our affliction, who's going to take care of us. Because even though they stayed in the wilderness and Ishmael became an archer, God took care of them. And he still made a nation out of Ishmael. Even though that he wasn't the child of the promise, he was Abraham's seed, so God was going to make sure that he was taken care of. So we got to know that we serve a God who sees us, who hears us, and who's going to answer us in the wilderness, and when we are have to go back to different places. Because um, Hagar had to go back to Sarah, and Sarah still mistreated her. um, she still mistreated her because Sarah was bitter because she hadn't had a son, hadn't had a child. So even when we have to go back to those places and be mistreated, just know that God is still going to take care of us. So I pray that this blessed you all. I just wanted to get back on our Thursday word, even after I fast. And I just pray that you all have a blessed and prosperous day. I encourage you to read Genesis chapter 16, the whole chapter, and Genesis chapter 21. These are just some good chapters, some good key points in there for our daily lives. So y'all have a blessed and prosperous day. Bye bye.